how many of you have seen the specials on PBS, African American Lives? Okay, well, in those specials, Henry Louis Gates traced the genealogies and the ancestries of those celebrities. He used our test for those. If you've seen NBC's Who Do You Think You Are, with the Emmett Smith story, they used our test for that. If you've seen BET's My Black is Beautiful, we tested the hosts of that show last year. So anybody that you've heard that has found out where they're from, probably found out, most likely found out through African Ancestry. We're a local company, we're a black-owned company, we're a woman-owned company, and we are very excited about being able to use technology to build this bridge between African Americans and Africa. Because see, we're the only group in this country that can't point to a country of origin, right? Everyone else can say, I'm Mexican American, or I'm Italian American, or I'm Russian American, and what do we say? African American, and that's real cool because we have 54 countries to choose from, so that's great. But those are 54 very unique countries with thousands of unique cultures and traditions, and we came from somewhere very specific. And so with our technology, we're able to tell you not just that you're from Africa, like all the other companies, but we're the only company that can tell you the country in Africa and the ethnic group. And so we'll talk about that more as the evening goes on. We have been on a road tour that we started last year, and we've been to Chicago, Atlanta, and Detroit, just celebrating our historical, scientific, and cultural connections to Africa. And one of the things that worked really well during our family reunions during the road tour, we would get everybody who we've tested from Sierra Leone to come together. Anybody here from Sierra Leone? They just found out, the Harris family just found out that they're from Sierra Leone. Oops, that was confidential. I'm sorry. He was so excited though. I got excited. Sierra Leone and Senegal. But the thing that was really fun was this family feud game. So I thought, why don't we kick off this family reunion? One of the things you do is play games, right? And it's a way for you all to get to know each other. So each table is going to be a team. This table kind of has an unfair advantage because you have a gazillion people, but that's okay. And what I put on your tables cards that have 3 family feud questions. So we surveyed 100 people, and the top 5 answers are on. You need to put the top 5 answers on the card. And so you can fill it out as a group, and then as we're eating, I'll tally your answers to see which family has the most skills in Family Feud, and then I have some prizes for the winners. Okay, so I thought I'd give, well, but there's no food yet, so maybe I should keep talking?
Keep talking, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking. So when the food comes, you all can do that. So let me tell you about how our company started. My business partner is an African American geneticist, Dr. Rick Kittle. Some of you may be familiar with his work. And in the early 2000s, late 90s, they were building a federal building in Lower Manhattan. Are you all familiar with the New York African Burial Ground Project? And so as they were building this or unearthing excavating the land, they came across these bones, which turned out to be an old slave cemetery. And so he was part of the team of Howard University that was charged with figuring out where these bones were from. And so over time, people started saying, well, if you can do it for bones, it should be much easier to do it for me because I'm still alive. See, we all watch CSI, right, and Law and Order, so we think we know all about forensics. And so that sort of jump-started his quest to understand where he was from. And so over the past 12, 14 years, we've compiled the largest database of African DNA in the world. We have over 30,000 DNA lineages from over 30 countries on the continent, primarily West and Central Africa, because that's where historians and anthropologists have told us that we came from during the slave trade. And Dr. Kittle used the advances in genetic technology to figure out which parts of those DNA lineages reflected the ancestry of the people. Now, when I talk about ancestry, I'm talking about something much deeper than just your family tree. How many people know both their parents' names? Raise your hand. It's not a trick question. Okay. How many know your 4 grandparents' names? All 4 of them. How many know all 8 of your great-grandparents' names? Not as many hands now. And if we kept going, I'm sure all the hands would drop. Well, part of the reason we don't know that information, well, what are some of the reasons we don't know that information? How come we don't know our 8 great-grandparents' names? Anybody?
We don't care.
We don't care. What else? There are no records. No one has told us. Exactly. So, as family secrets, people don't want to talk about it. Exactly. Y'all got some family secrets in here we need to talk about? There's some over at my table. Okay, gotta get over to my table. But genealogists will tell you, you can do all the research you want, but as African Americans, we weren't even recorded as people until the 1870 census. Not even as people. If I showed you the census from 1810 and the census from 2010, it would be amazing. There are no names for the people living in the house except for the white people. The black people are just counted. Yes. Okay, the free black people, but proportionally speaking, more of us were not free than were. So, but yes. So, and that was by design. When we were taken from the western central coast of Africa, we lost everything. Our names, our languages, our religions, our families were torn apart. But there's one thing we didn't lose, and that's our DNA. And that's why family is so important, because that's where we get our DNA. We get 50% of our DNA from our mother and 50% of our DNA from our father. You can't escape it. I'm Jerome Paige's daughter through and through. Some of the people in this room will tell you that. I look like him. I act like him. I tell corny jokes like him. I get on my mother's nerves like him. Because 50% of who I am came from him. And if he were here, he's on vacation, but if he were here, he would co-sign that for sure. So we get 50% of our DNA from each parent. So if your mother's yellow and your father's blue, what color are you going to be? Very good. What color did y'all say over here? Red. Whoa. They need some help with art at our table.
Artwork here.
Yeah, we need some art consulting over there. So think of us, we're all green now. All the men and women in this room are green, but we have this little yellow dot, if you will. This part of this DNA that we got from our mother is called mitochondrial DNA. It stays yellow. So we're green, but we have a yellow dot. My mitochondrial DNA is the same as my mother's. She got it from her mother. She got it from her mother. And so on and so on. For hundreds of generations, it doesn't change. So if I can find out something about your yellow dot, I found out something about your entire maternal family just through your DNA. And so that's what we do. We compare your maternally inherited DNA with all that DNA in our database to look for matches. And when we find a match, that's how we know you share ancestry with, as in my case, the Fulani living in Nigeria today, or the Kru living in Liberia today, or the Bamaleke living in Cameroon, or wherever it is. The same holds true on the father's line. There's DNA that all you men have inherited from your father that didn't mix with anything you got from your mother, and that's the Y chromosome. If you remember anything from biology, you remember that women have 2 X's, right, and men have an X and a Y. Did you know that the Y chromosome has the gene for not asking for directions? Did you know that? So that's how you can always remember that, ladies, we don't have a Y. That's what determines maleness. And so in order to trace paternal lineages, we look at the Y chromosome and compare that. And so this is an exciting family project because you just need one person to take the test, and the results are the same for everybody on your father's 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 line, or your mother's 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 mother. So that's sort of, those are the nuts and the bolts of how the science works. It's really simple and easy. I see we have our first course of appetizers, so I'm going to let you guys dig into this delicious grilled shrimp and avocado salad, and get to work on your answers. Now don't forget, it's the top 5, so you have to agree as a team on what you want those top 5 answers to be. Thank you.
And also we're going to mingle. What do people do at a family reunion? Number 1 answer is eat.
Eat, that's what I was thinking.
Who's going to record?
Top 5.
Eat, you tell stories. Eat.